Hello, everyone. This is Shane Lind at MacArthur Museum of Arkansas Military History. Thank you for being with us today. I have a very special guest, retired Colonel Anita Deason. She currently serves as a staff member for United States Senator John Boozman. Her duties encompass all aspects of veteran issues and military-related matters. She began at the Senator's office in 2015. Before that, she had a 33-year career in the Arkansas and Ohio National Guards. She was both an enlisted and officer. She retired in 2013. She served as Battalion Commander of the Arkansas National Guard 871st Troop Command. She is a recipient of the Legion of Merit. She has a graduate degree in public administration, and she and both Senator Boozman are great friends and partners of the museum, and I thank her for being here. So Colonel Deason, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Shane. How about you?
Busy, but I'm doing great. A lot of exciting things happening at the museum, especially since we're able to open back up and with folks getting vaccinated and the pandemic hopefully winding down. But thank you so much for joining us. I guess the first question I like to ask folks is, especially you, why did you decide to join the military? Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences?
Sure. It's not very glorious. Actually, when I graduated from high school, I had wanted to go to college. And so I take the paperwork to my parents to help me fill out all this paperwork. And they said, I don't think so. You just need to get a government job. So long story behind all of this, but I ended up working fresh out of high school, age 17. I started working for the Arkansas National Guard at Camp Robinson.
Oh, wow.
And it was, at that time, I worked with civilians and military personnel, and listening to the military personnel come back in from a weekend drill or annual training or state active duty where they were out after a flood or tornado or something along those lines. That was very interesting and intriguing to me, and their camaraderie that I saw, I just loved. They were certainly part of something larger than themselves. And so that's how my interest peaked about joining the military.
And so I take it you did join and did basic training?
I did join, and you know, when I look back, I realized that there was a foundation laid there. I just wasn't that familiar with how to join the military. My father was a World War II veteran. I had been in the Girl Scouts, in J-Teens. I had been a page at the state capitol. I had been to Girl State. So a lot of things that I had done previously kind of laid that governmental disciplinary type foundation. So it was kind of a natural thing once I got in. But yes, I went to basic training because I had worked as a clerk typist for the National Guard as a civilian. I actually got to join as in a program called CASP. It's a Civilian Acquired Skills Program. So I went to basic training at Fort McClellan, Alabama. And Alabama can get cold in January. But the CASP program is a shortened training because I've already acquired the skills as a clerk typist. So I entered in as a clerk typist.
Well, and then you, like many members of the military, you started as an enlisted personnel, but then you moved to the officer ranks. How did that come about?
Again, nothing glorious about how this all came about, but I served as an enlisted soldier for about 9.5 years, and I loved being a non-commissioned officer, loved being an enlisted soldier. I had gone to the basic NCO course, the advanced NCO course, and at that point in time, there was really no other training left for me to do. So there was officer candidate school. So I kind of just went to officer candidate school, never really intending to accept my commission. But then as I got older and the timeline was, I was facing that timeline to take a commission or never take a commission, I decided around age 30 that I would take my commission.
And did you experience any obstacles or challenges being a female in the military at that time?
Absolutely. I will tell you the first encounter was very uncomfortable. And that was with a gentleman that I had in uniform that I had completely the utmost respect for. Very knowledgeable, rusty, crusty old guy that I worked with in the personnel office. He had been very helpful, kind of grandfatherly like when I was a civilian. But when I went to him and told him I was considering getting in the military and asked him what he thought about that, he told me if I was his daughter, he would tell me no, and I will leave out the expletives.
Right.
And that was very disturbing to me, very disappointing.
But obviously you didn't take his advice, and that was a challenge you overcame. Did you ever have an opportunity once you became maybe an officer, or while you were enlisted, ever have an opportunity to prove him, let him know that how wrong he was, or did he ever admit that he was wrong? Oh
no, he would never admit. Our relationship became very different once I was in uniform. He threw many stumbling blocks, but I never came back to him with any conversation, and maybe I should have. But you know, that was in the late 70s, early 80s, and right. It was different time then, and you know, women had to continuously prove themselves. It was as if everything we did had to be, the baseline was 110%. Right.
I was going to, follow up with, you were in for 33 years. You probably, for women, a lot of things, opportunities opened up during that time in the military, because correct me if I'm wrong, but probably when you joined, women were not placed in combat situations.
Absolutely. We could not be in combat arms at all, only support and service support. We could also not get pregnant and stay in. Yeah, that changed along the way. So yeah, a kind of a funny story. In my younger years, I had seen an air assault operation in training. And so, oh my goodness, I was interested in going to air assault school. So I sought out how to apply for it, what to do. And people kind of let me run with that thought that I could go to air assault, until finally someone said, oh, so you're infantry, huh? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not infantry. Well, that was the only place air assault positions were at that you could go to that training. And since couldn't be in infantry, I certainly couldn't go to air assault training.
Mm. Well, yeah, and even since you retired in 2013, even more opportunities for women and women have been placed in command roles, combat command roles.
Absolutely.
Which is making great strides. You know, seems to have always been a myth in the military. First, it was, African-American troops couldn't make good soldiers or airmen or sailors. Then it was, women. The same argument was used for women, and that has obviously been by African-Americans and women proven that they can do anything just as well given the opportunities.
That's correct.
So tell us what it was like being battalion commander of the 871st Troop Command.
Anytime you're in command at any level, it's wonderful, and especially if you have a wonderful staff. And I was blessed throughout my career. I tell people I worked with giants, and my staff at that battalion was fabulous. And we had at that point in time, we had a lot of units that were deploying or redeploying. And that was difficult to juggle. So it was a battalion of over 800 soldiers spread across Arkansas. There was 10 different units, and some of those were detachments, but 10 different locations around the state. So traveling and visiting those units, staying close to the units and their families, because again, they were deploying and redeploying. It was a lot to try and manage. And we had to get quite creative about when we had, over 500 soldiers at one point were deployed. So what do we do with everybody else back here? So we did a lot of collective training together and also worked with other units to do collective training with them. So we made the best out of a unique situation.
Well, I think that's something that many civilians don't understand. They obviously see soldiers being deployed and sent overseas, and it's a lot of the focus is on the soldiers, but there's not really a lot of focus on the support that goes into helping those soldiers, helping their families. And that's a critical role that if it wasn't for the support of the units back home to get everything lined out, it would be difficult for those being deployed.
Shane, it is very difficult for the families back home. In fact, our soldiers will often say it's easier to be deployed because I can focus on what I'm doing. I have that mission. Back home, you're dealing with a little bit of everything, and your spouse, your partner, is away, so you're having to juggle the kids, your job, school, everything back here, and it almost never fails. Something significant happens, like a tragedy in the family, an illness in the family, and how you manage that. And you don't want to give that burden to your soldier that's deployed. You don't want those things to be distracting them. They do need to stay focused on the mission, but the family back home has to carry that burden. So it's definitely a lot on the family, and they need all of our support. Senator Boozman last week was in Jonesboro and had the opportunity to visit with 2 spouses, and both of their husbands had deployed before. He got to visit them actually on Military Spouse Appreciation Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And it was very enjoyable for him and the spouses to get to casually visit with each other. And they bravely asked questions to the senator, not easy questions either, but wanted his thoughts and opinions, and he wanted theirs as well.
Great. What are some of your favorite memories or experiences that you had during your career that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. Lots of memories, lots of mixed memories. I guess some of my favorite memories would be after a training event was over, and especially if it was a successful training event, and we all come back together and relax. We can all still be dirty, exhausted, but we would sit around and talk about what we just did. How did it go? What we could do better next time. We kind of did that after action review there in a very comfortable format. Sometimes not even intentionally, but that's what it ended up being, a hot wash, as we'd call it. And pick on each other about any goofy thing we did, or somebody getting lost in a convoy, or those things. But that again, that camaraderie was apparent, and just those are some favorite memories, poking fun at each other. Other things I would say is really what would steal my heart would be those times when you give a soldier an opportunity to do something, and they just excel at it. They go above and beyond what your expectations were. Those are thrilling moments when you're able to uplift another person. And I find myself sometimes, another memory that pops up even today, if I'm out, I love to go hiking, and sometimes I'm out on a hiking trail or out in the woods really early in the morning, and I think, this is very familiar. This is this is what it smelt like, felt like when we would be out on a field training exercise or an annual training event in that early morning before the sun even rises. Those are very good memories. One not so good memory or a unique memory was the day after 9/11, so 9/12. My son, I took him to a before school care location because I had to be at work in North Little Rock at 7. And so this is around 6 o'clock in the morning. And we get there and I'm in uniform as always, and I'm dropping my son off. And the lady at the before school care, she meets me at the door and she hands me the US flag. And she says, "Would you put our flag up this morning?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my son was a Cub Scout at that time. We go out and we try to formally, as a mom and son can do, we put the flag up. And then I step back, we both step back and salute the flag once we have it up. So that was pretty powerful in itself. But what I didn't know is that everybody who had pulled into the parking lot, everybody that was driving by on the street, they stopped and had gotten out of their car and held their hand over their heart as we put up the flag. So
Wow.
that was a very moving moment, one that my son and I will never forget.
Yes. Well, if you had an individual came to you and wanted some advice, say that they were considering joining the military, what would you tell that individual? And would it be different advice if a parent came to you and said, "My child is thinking about joining the military"? How would you react to that? What would be your advice for those who may be considering the military, or those worried parents that might be that are concerned their child is about to join the military?
Yeah. So I would say if a person came to me wanting to join the military, I would heavily encourage them to do so. If you're thinking about it, I think you should give it a try. Now, I will say the military is not for everybody, and that's okay. But if it's on your heart to serve others, to serve your country, to serve your state and nation, to please join. What it offers you is such a strong foundation that you can build your entire life on. Yes, it can be a career in the military, but you can take what you learn in the military and apply it to your civilian world. You can get your education paid for. You can knock it out while you're in the military. But I'd also say, if you're going to join the military, be prepared. It's about selfless service. It's not just about doing things to build up your own resume. It is about selfless service to others, your state and nation. And I would basically say that to the parents as well, that this will be overall a good experience for your child. Yes, there's going to be some difficult times too, but that's anywhere. The military just provides you with so much diversity, not just in people, but in your training. The leadership training that you get from it is outstanding. So my advice would be, if you're interested, definitely give the military a try. Great.
Well, let's go sort of focus away from your military career, because you retired in 2013, and in 2015 you went to work for Senator Boozman's office. Can you tell us how that came about, and a little bit about what you, and more, at the beginning of the program I gave your title and what you did, but maybe you could explain a little bit more what you did.
Okay, so yes, in 2013 I retired, and right after I retired, I shredded all my tendons in my ankle.
Oh, no.
It was just worn out from years of being in the military. But I ended up having surgery. So actually in 2015, I wasn't even back in shoes yet from ankle and foot and leg surgery. But I received a phone call from Lieutenant Colonel retired Steve Gray. And Steve was working for Senator Boozman and had been with the office like 17 years. And I knew Steve. One of my jobs in the National Guard, I'd been a congressional liaison. And so I had interfaced with Congressman Boozman and his staff, and definitely with Steve Gray because he was in this position. So Steve called me a few times, encouraging me to apply for the job because he was getting ready to retire and he thought I would be a good fit for the job. And I was like, oh, Steve, I don't know. I haven't even got to enjoy my retirement. I've been laid up with this, after surgery, and I'm ready to get out there and do something. And then Major General retired Ron Chastain, who was then working for Senator Boozman and used to be the Adjutant General of the Arkansas National Guard, and I used to work for him. So he calls me and encourages me to apply. And so I did, and interviewed and got the job. I wasn't sure if it's really what I wanted to do, but I knew of Senator Boozman in his character. I don't know that I would have gone to work for anybody else out of retirement. He is just such a good human. And this job is a blessing. It allows me to continue to serve military personnel, veterans and their families across the state. And I get to work with so many fabulous people, with the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs, with all the VA medical centers, and there's 2 in the state and 3 around the edges, with the Veterans Benefits Administration, with county veteran service officers, with veteran service organizations. So there's just a multitude of ways that I feel like I can continue to serve others in this position.
Well, I know that the military and veterans issues are very important to the senator and obviously to you as well. Could you maybe discuss some future projects or some current projects that the senator might be working on, or you might be working on, that veterans of the state might be interested in?
Sure. Well, one I want to highlight is Razorback Range at Fort Chaffee. At one point in time, there was that it was being considered to be closed. And so once we heard about that, it was, oh, we don't want to lose an asset. And at the time that it was being considered for being closed, it was still being used regionally and by Little Rock Air Force Base. And if we ever have any hopes of having wings back at the 188th Wing Air National Guard in Fort Smith, we really need that range. So that was a successful project that we worked on, probably 2 years worth before that was secured. So really proud of that. Something the senator is working on right now, there's an agency called the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency. And very proud to live in a nation that continues to search for our fallen heroes that have never come home. So this agency searches around the world wherever we have had service members to bring their remains home. There, a couple of years ago, Dr. Thomas Holland with the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency, we were working on a project together, and he said, does Senator Boozman know about this particular situation, and can you help get me so I can visit with the senator? So that meeting took place, and what the story is, there was a pilot from Fort Smith, Arkansas. During World War II, his plane went down in Austria. And since World War II, the property owner has not allowed the agency or anyone on that property to search for his remains. So Senator Boozman had reached out to Vienna And then he assigned someone on his staff in DC, and they have been checking with Vienna and the property owners all this time to see if we could get the agency over there to find the remains. Now, while this is going on, we also find out that the fallen hero has a brother in Fort Smith that's 90 years old.
Wow.
And he has been, you know, trying to put forth efforts to bring his brother's remains home all these years as well. So just recently, the property owner switched hands down to the grandson. And through the work of all these different offices and agencies, they've been able to go in and secure those remains.
Oh,
We are
wow.
right now we are waiting for a 100% positive identification before making that openly known to everybody, and then working to bring those remains home to his brother.
Wow, it's very powerful.
It is powerful.
And I would imagine it's work like that that makes your job very enjoyable and fulfilling.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right, Shane. It's moments like that bring it all home. You're right.
Well, you know, there's another project that you're involved with that you actually introduced me to, and we've actually you've been so kind to come out and talk to various teacher workshops that we've had about this. But it's the Veterans History Project, and I'm going to let you talk a little bit about that if you don't mind, because it's a wonderful project, and it's a project really that school kids do, college kids can do, anybody can do. So
yeah, you're exactly right. I love this project. It's called the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, and it actually was initiated under the Clinton administration and has been in place for 20 years. They just recently, in 2020, they celebrated their 20th year. So I've been on the job about 4 months, and I get word that the senator wants me to kind of breathe new life into this project here in Arkansas. We weren't doing a great job at being aggressive at trying to secure and preserve our veterans' experiences. And so I did, and continue to do so. The project is, like you said, anybody aged 15 or above can interview a veteran, and then you have that interview placed into the Library of Congress for preservation. And it's quite simple. And so to date, we have trained about over 1,200 people here in Arkansas. A lot of those are high school or college students. Some colleges have implemented into their curriculum. Like at UCA, I believe they teach it every other semester. They offer this, Southern Arkansas University and various others around the state. And I have personally interviewed about 70 veterans over the last 5+ years. And I have witnessed this project being so very healing to our veterans when they can share their story. One case, I think we basically brought one veteran kind of back to life. He was 98 years old and in a nursing home and was nonverbal at the time. And I went to visit him a couple of times before actually doing the interview. And he gave one of the best interviews. His sons brought pictures from World War II of his pictures to him, and they just started talking to him more. And the next thing we know, he has opened up and just gives a beautiful interview. A lot of the veterans will say, you know, no one's asked me to talk in all these years, so thank you for asking. And then when you talk to their family members, they say, thank you for talking to them because they've never shared that before. So it opens so many doors for communications where the family thought they shouldn't ask questions because it would be hurtful. And the service member or the veteran didn't offer because they didn't think anybody really cared. or wanted to hear their story. So it is just so healing, very cathartic. Senator Boozman actually goes a step beyond just the preservation in the Library of Congress. He has a salute to veterans once a month, and we take excerpts of the interviews that we do and do the communications team writes a press release. And so it goes out to the media and is also put out on social media. And we've had tremendous feedback from that, because we have veterans that connect back with friends and family that they haven't heard from in years. I had one veteran, very shy veteran, very humble. There had been a newspaper article from the press release on him, and his church had secured a picture of him and had it up in the sanctuary of the church. So when he walks in Sunday morning, there he is. Oh, wow. So, and yeah, it's a program, a project that just keeps giving back.
Well, and you're absolutely right. I mean, number one, the most important, I think, is, like you said, the healing and helping the veteran and the families, but also the importance of having that history because sometimes, historians and people write books who weren't actually there, and they try to do their best to get interviews and to paint the picture of what really happened. And sometimes if these veterans don't speak up, their story is lost. The actual truth is lost. So it's from that standpoint, it's great to have these stories preserved. And I would encourage anyone who's interested, it's very simple to Google Veterans History Project. It's, as you said, the Library of Congress, and it has a whole kit that you can download and gives great instructions. And it's great. I would think of like a high school student wanting to do a project for their civics or history class. That's probably been done. It's a great project. It's great for college students, or if you have a family member that was a veteran and you want to preserve their stories and their experiences. I think it's a wonderful project. It's a great way, just another useful tool and great way to honor our veterans.
Absolutely. There's also the ability for Scouts to use it as their Eagle Scout project.
Oh, yes, great. Thank you for bringing that up. So for Eagle Scouts, it's certainly a worthy project. That's
right.
Well, thank you for being with us today, for talking with me. Thank you and the Senator for both being good friends of the museum here and great partners. And we certainly look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been my honor, and love the museum, and thank you for always being a good partner to us.
Thank you.